obviously going into methods slightly there. Tell us about your character. Tell us about the role and tell us how you managed to get right embedded in it.
Okay, so my character is Adam, a particularly uptight, frustrated, angry individual, I think it's fair to say, and coincidentally bald, like me. He's a very easily angered, short-tempered individual who has taken a lot of wrong decisions in his life and made a lot of mistakes and blames the world for his misfortune, most of which, in fact, all of which has been caused directly by him. In the film, we find him at the beginning after he's been accused of various dodgy fraud practices in his business. I think he says at one point, I don't see why signing documents in other people's names is illegal or something like that. So yeah, he's been up to some dodgy stuff, and he's in a very highly stressed situation. And he decides to use the escape of going up to Dewsbury as a way of getting away from his life, I think it's fair to say. How did I get into the character?
The mental headspace of being in that position.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard because I'm most of the time a relatively peaceful, calm person, although the other guys are all, I can feel everyone shaking their head. I can feel them all. That's not true. I'm generally a calm person, but I had to be incredibly angry all the time for Adam. And one of the hardest things to do, actually, was when Jack would constantly say to me, I want you to ramp it up and be more angry, and then more angry, and then more angry. And it's really hard, actually, to get your lines out sometimes when you are screaming your head off a lot. It's quite challenging, so yeah, that was it was quite good fun. But how did I get to character? Well, I mean, I was quite lucky that I was involved in the story from early on, so I helped create some of the characters, Adam being one of them, and so I knew early on that he was going to be what he was. In fact, one of the weirdest things for me wasn't just Adam, it was seeing the other actors come in into roles which I'd helped create in a story which I've been part of, so that was really weird for me. But getting to Adam's head was pretty straightforward. In fact, we decided early on that he couldn't just be a very angry character. There had to be a reason for the anger, and as you'll see, hopefully through the film, that he had some sort of relationship with Frankie, which was never really potentially consummated and never really happened, and then Frankie left him. And I think that was the thing that started him being very, very angry. He was actually a little bit angry with Frankie as well. And that's why he's so upset towards the end, I think.
From a personal perspective, is there an element of sort of therapy to being able to play such an angry character?
Yeah, there is. It's really quite cathartic, especially shouting at some of the others, especially Matt's character. It was always fun. We always seemed to rub each other up the wrong way. And yeah, it was great fun. Not just actually while we were on set, but also in rehearsals was really good fun as well. And we did rehearse quite a lot, and I'd say that the performances were a lot more intricate than perhaps when we started. Once we started to get to know each other, it was almost personal when we were jibing each other in those scenes, which was great.
Yeah, and I think that interplay comes across. Obviously, probably going to speak about it with everyone, but how did that feel to be part of such a strong four-person dynamic like that on screen? Yeah,
it was great. I mean, we'd met up originally, we went camping together in a field, which was nice, where Matt, by the way, got very, very drunk. But I'll let him tell you about that if he hasn't already. But we got to know each other then, and actually by the time we got to the set, we kind of had spoken a few times, so there was already a bit of chemistry building up. But we were literally in each other's pockets, we were sharing rooms, so we got to know each other really, really well. And, you know, that leads to good and bad. You know, some days were a little bit frustrating because we were literally locked together in the house for so long. But it just meant that we bonded in a way that we would never have done. And we were there for a couple of weeks, really, before we started filming. And to be able to rehearse every scene and think through every line and to be able to think through the relationships your character has with every other character was quite a special thing. And you don't always get the time when you're filming to do something like that. So, one of the things that was really important to Jack was that we all had rehearsal time and to really get to know the characters inside out. We all had character arcs which we knew about. We all knew at the end of every scene, because they weren't filmed in order, we knew how our characters started the scene, what mood they were in, what just happened to them, and we were really careful to make sure we were consistent.
Yeah, and that again is something that does come across in the final film. It's Jack's first feature film he's made. Obviously a young director, was a teenager when he started making it, doing all the fundraising, all of the elements of it. How did you find it working with him?
Great. What an experience for a guy who was, I think, 19 at the time to be able to tell 40-year-olds how to think about their characters. I mean, that's challenging. I don't know where it comes from sometimes, the experience and knowledge that Jack has. But I knew Jack from before. I was the first one to meet him. I actually met Jack when he was still at film school. He was in the first year and he was getting frustrated with the film school because they weren't giving him what he needed, which is real practical experience of filming, which is quite an interesting way of going through film school. And I was in a number of his original student films, which I drove all the way from London up to York to, and I did for free to help him out. And I just got to know him, and I recognised immediately that Jack was a special talent, and I knew it would only be a matter of time before he made a film. And as soon as he said he was going to, I'd worked with a couple of writers, and I put him in contact with one of them, Aaron, who ended up writing Destination Dewsbury. And the three of us just started a really healthy writing process whereby we would, with a couple of other people actually, where we would write a draft of the film and then go through and check all the characters and make sure we were happy, and we would make changes to the scenes. And all that was driven by Jack, who knew exactly what he wanted. And he always knows what he wants, Jack.
I think any director, any filmmaker's got to have that vision, don't they?
Yeah, he was very clear on what he wanted from the characters, from our performances, from everything from day one, and that really helped.
Yeah, excellent. In terms of the location of the film, obviously it's got a location, a locality in the title. You guys stayed in Batley, just close by.
Did. Yeah.
Were you getting any good memories or anecdotes you can tell from the time up there in deepest, darkest Yorkshire?
Yeah, it was great actually. We were really lucky. It was we were really welcomed locally, and we used to go to the local pub. And actually, there was a restaurant called Frankie's as well, which was quite interesting because obviously the character who we go to try and visit is called Frankie, and we went in there a few times. But the locals were great. The local pub was really nice to us. They looked after us. We went around Batley and filmed in a number of places, such as the cafe, which you see in there. And everyone was just so welcoming. I think it was a working man's club we were in as well at some point. So we had a great time in Batley, and I couldn't thank the people of Batley and Dewsbury, and actually Bradford as well. We went to at one point. They were all really, really helpful and really friendly to us and looked after us, frankly. Everybody thought it was great that we were filming a feature film there. So yeah, it was really nice. As for funny stories, there are loads. I mean, we were living in a pretty rubbish house. And this guy on the first day turns up and knocks on the door, and we open the door and he's standing there in his boxer shorts, smoking weed, saying, Can I get some milk? I'm like, right, okay. And we went and got some milk and gave it to him and just shut the door and walked off into his flat. We had no idea. This guy was crazy. But we had to put up with stuff like this all the time. In fact, one day we found him burning all of his possessions out in the garden for some reason because the council wouldn't pick them up. And this is while we're trying to film. But it's actually them I feel sorry for, because if you hear some of Adam's lines, he swears quite a lot. And when we were rehearsing, we were very loud. They must have wondered what was going on in that house. I felt quite sorry for him, actually.
Yeah, especially like the guy sounds like quite a delicate mental state.
Yes, I think he was. We were a bit worried he was going to murder us at one point, to be fair, but he didn't, so that was good news.
Yeah, no Peter Sutcliffe antics, we wouldn't have wanted
Not
that.
this time.
No. Overall, how proud are you of this film?
Just immensely. Again, having been involved right from the point where we hadn't even got a story to tell, to the point where I'm sitting here having made a film with some amazing people, made some great friends, and by the way, we have to thank all the crew and the cast and everybody who worked on this. Everybody did it for virtually nothing. Okay, some people got paid, some people didn't. A lot of the people gave their services for free, they supported us for free. It's so hard to make a film in the UK, and more than 90% of films that get made never actually get to the point where they're distributed. So not just proud, like incredibly proud, and hopefully there's a lot more from Jack to come.
Brilliant. Final question, same one for everyone. In a sentence, sell the movie to me or to the audience.
If you want to laugh and cry, and I've seen an audience do this watching this when I was in LA, so if you want to laugh and cry and have a great time, and you're in the mood of something, for something a little bit inappropriate at times, then you'll love this film.
Sounds brilliant.
Don't take your kids. Don't take your kids to see. Do not take. Okay, maybe the ones who are nearly 50.
Good man. Brilliant.
Bye bye.
Superb.